What's up, everybody? AJ from Knights of the Apex here. I just got back over the last couple of weeks. I shot Seven Springs PA Total Archery Challenge. Big shout out to the guys at Black Rifle Coffee, Cam, Isaac Jr., Isaac Sr., as well as Dylan and Craig from Sever and Easton. It was great getting to shoot the course with you guys all weekend. And special thank you to Ryan Haynes of One Shot Outdoors. It was awesome having another guy with a camera on the mountain. Really stoked that we got to shoot the course together. Wanted to do a quick video and update on the Dialed Arxos. The team at Dialed was at Seven Springs, PA, and they're going to be at a lot of the Total Archery Challenges this summer, so definitely stop by the tent. At Seven Springs, they had one of the pre-production, or they had several pre-production models on hand for people to check out. This one in my hand right now is still a pre-production model. Some of you might be aware I had the original prototype model. I was one of the testers that received one of these back in November. They've made a ton of updates and refinements. Of course, this was more of like a proof of concept. This is pretty close to the real deal. It's about 80-90% there. And it's pretty close to what you guys that pre-ordered and that will continue to order are going to be receiving. But even since this pre-production model, which I've had for a few months now, they've made even more updates and refinements based on end user feedback, as well as hearing what you guys who have been following the development of this site for the last couple months, what you guys have been asking for and requesting, and it's been really cool to watch this thing grow. So I'm not going to go over all of the changes that have been made over the last couple months. This video would be 2 hours long if I did. Make sure you're following Dialed on Instagram and YouTube if you aren't already. They do a really good job of pumping out graphics and information and videos when they make changes or when they have updates. They've been really, really cool about that. And it's been cool to watch this site grow real time and share that with everybody. But I did want to quickly go over 3 features relating to site picture that I found just absolutely invaluable while I was at Total Archery Challenge. And actually, I took this site on a little suburban hunt this last weekend while I was out on Long Island. There's a couple of things that I found really, really awesome about this site that I already liked, but that really proved themselves once I got to actual angles. Because of course, some of you guys might know, I live in Florida. It's pretty damn flat. Number one, let's start with the top level. Now this was something that I was stoked for and I was honestly sold on when I first saw the first concepts for this, the Arxos. The top level to me is just so intuitive, makes for such a clean sight picture. When I come to full draw, my eyes naturally are going from high to low. I'm not so much worrying about getting that bubble in between the two lines as I am kind of floating it over my sight post. It's just very natural and intuitive, and I just found it super clean and fast to acquire. I got used to this very quickly. I feel just so much slower going back to other sites that have the bubble on the bottom. When they do come out with the light version of this fiber optic cover, that light will actually filter through and also light up your bubble in addition to your pin. So super stoked for that, but even in normal lighting conditions without using the electronic light, the bubble is nice and clean, super intuitive. Big fan of the top bubble. The second thing I want to talk about is the pin design, specifically the fact that it is a very wide blade design. And unlike most other blades that they kind of look like a shark fin, right? They curve over really quickly. This is squared off a bit more. There is a slight taper so that when the sight is angled at those further distances that you're not seeing the top of that pin protrude into your sight picture and kind of make for a fuzzier sight picture. But the blade is significantly wider than most blade designs. And what that does is on those angled shots, especially, I really noticed this when I was in a tree stand and I was at more radical angles. What that blade design does is it serves as a second indicator that your third axis might be off, i.e. you're torquing the bow with your hand. Something that a lot of us don't take into consideration is when you have your bow all set up, you have these accessories mounted to it, and sure, it balances really well when you're on a flat range, but that quiver that's mounted on a different point than your back bar, than your stabilizer, than your rest, and everything else, right? As soon as you come to an angle, either up or down, the forces of gravity acting on that different pivot point, being your hand, is going to potentially impact the way that bow balances in your hand, right? And you can have some torque that you might not even realize. This blade pin serves as a helpful little indicator. There was a couple of times where I came to full draw and I looked down my sight and I could clearly see the side of that pin really sticking out to one side or the other, and I realized that my hand was either a little tight and I was torquing it a little, or I was maybe just a little off axis. Something was off though, and I was able to make a quick adjustment and be okay, or I let down and I reset and I went through my draw cycle again. Third, the Stub XR. On the 2 bow models that I've set up, the pin gaps that I'm getting, if I use the hash mark on here, the little machined hash mark on here as my 20, my second pin, which is actually right here, these little adjustable pins, and you could use just these adjustable pins as your indicators if you wanted to. It does come with 2. But my second pin, the Stub XR pin, is actually right at about 60 yards. So I'm getting significant gaps there. Now, at Total Archery Challenge, we were taking a couple of lobs at like 130 yards, and I had plenty of clearance using the Stub XR. I probably could have gotten this thing out to 140 because I guessed what my pin gap was going to be at 130, and I hit an elk target in the antlers. So I probably had more than enough clearance to go to 135, 140 most likely. But anyway, Stub XR. If I'm being honest, with single pin sights or double pin sights, right, where you have 1 post and 2 fiber optic pins, I rarely, if ever, actually use that second pin. Usually you're running red fiber optic, your top pin will be green, your second pin will be red, and in a 0.01 diameter fiber optic in a black pin, that red pin is just very difficult to find. Not so on the Arxos. Reason being, the way they shaped this pin is it comes to, at the base, it's a triangle, and that triangle hits its apex right where that Stub XR pin is. So I still prefer a 0.019 diameter pin just because it collects some more light, and I like having actually a bigger pin floating over the target. It leads to less target panic for me personally, just the way my eyes work. I don't know, I'm getting a little older, guys. But what I found is even with these 0.01 diameter pins, having that triangle and that shape was just very intuitive for using that pin to hit those further distances. And actually, on my site, I have it set up so I'll use my top pin out to 90, and then past 90, I'll actually move over to my Stub XR, and I'll start using my Stub XR for all of the ranges after that. So I've really been enjoying the Stub XR, which is something that honestly I usually don't use with other double pin style sights like I've run in the past. So the top level, the blade pin design, and the Stub XR, 3 features that I've really enjoyed about the Arxos. Now I'm biased, I've been on the testing and development team for quite a while now, but I'm super psyched for where this sight is going, how it's progressed, and props and shout out to the entire team over at Dialed, because they've been listening to shooters' feedback and they've been building the site that we as shooters want. So kudos to them. Can't wait for you guys to get the production models in your hands. Everybody who's been running the pre-production sites that I've talked to has been absolutely stoked with them. So can't wait for you guys to get them. Make sure you're following along if you're not already. I'll catch you guys with a new video. Got a lot of new content planned for the next couple of weeks. Going to be traveling a bit more, but going to be filling in content and also going to be providing updates on the Bone Nerds podcast with Braxton of Hacks and Hunts. So if you guys aren't following along on there already, make sure you head over to that channel. I'll have a link in the video description below to check that out. But thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.